excited to welcome Janita here today. Janita is a photographer and educator, and I can't wait to talk about like the mix of those two things. So welcome.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Do you want to tell folks a little bit about like who you are and what you do?
Sure. So I am a like small town girl who has just dove right into this photography world, and I have never looked back. About 7 years ago, I like started photography as a hobby again. I was really big into it in high school with the yearbook and like photographed all of like the sports teams and stuff like that. And then just didn't really like back then it wasn't like a career choice. That was photography was a hobby. And then 7 years ago, I bought a new camera, decided to pick up the hobby again. And at the time I worked at a daycare. So the families were all like, oh, well, if you want to take family photos, like we'd love that.
Perfect.
And I snowballed. I actually quit the daycare within a year. And
Wow.
I quit my bartending job within like 3 or 6 months, I think, as well. So um, it was pretty wild. And so basically, I am a lifestyle documentary type photographer who does weddings and couples. Now, more specifically, elopements and couples and very small weddings. And I have COVID to thank for that because I realized big weddings actually aren't my jam anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I prefer the smaller, really small, really unique, really personal weddings. Um, and I'm also an educator. So I would have classified myself as an educator before I launched this course,
Mm-hmm.
um, your principles, because I was mentoring and I had like a little camera 101 type course that I would do in person with people.
Okay, cool. So I love
Mhm.
that because often actually there's people who have done like in-person workshops or yeah, something like in the flesh and they're like, "Oh, hang on a second. Could I turn this into something online?" So take us to that moment when
Mhm.
because I think so many like other entrepreneurs will find it inspiring. It was during COVID, like the beginning of COVID. Obviously, photographers were like some of the hardest hit entrepreneurs because really there
Mhm.
were no gatherings. You couldn't photograph anybody really, especially at the beginning. So, in that moment, you decided to make a little bit of a pivot or maybe focus more on that education piece of your business, which I think was right when you enrolled in course creator school, right?
Yeah, I enrolled in January and did all the work in February and then launched end of February. No,
Amazing.
that's not right. COVID.
Yeah, it
March,
must
I
have been
guess.
just
March would have been
after.
when like I did all. Yeah.
And I remember like you
Um
powered through quickly.
yeah, I did. I did. And I powered through and launched my course because I wasn't allowed to work, couldn't make any money, but then I also wasn't able to get government help either, because I was one of the people who had their accounts hacked. So basically it was locked. It's it's alive now, but I still can't apply for money. So basically I had to make money, and that's why I powered through, because when you need something bad enough, you do it. So yeah, that is why it had always been in my mind like I would love to bring education online, because as a photographer, like I won't have a mat leave one day. I won't It'll be really hard to take time off of like not the one-on-one work.
Mm-hmm.
And so it had always been in my mind, if I have like education that's available online, I maybe could do like a big launch before I have a baby or something like that. And then COVID kind of just like fast forwarded all of those thoughts. And I was like,
Right.
okay, now's the time actually.
Exactly. So tell
Mhm.
folks about that first launch experience. Like, how was that for you?
Totally scary.
Mm-hmm.
And like a bit of a fish out of water. I could talk in person to somebody about, I could answer any question they ever had about launching a photography business, about photography in general, like no problems. But then when it came to launching a course, I was like, I don't know, like I don't want to miss anything. I want to make sure I'm answering all their questions. Like I just was kind didn't know what to do. So when I found your course, which I don't even remember how, I must have just been Googling or something. And I think the reason I picked you was because you were so close to me. And I was like, oh, well, she's like in Ottawa. Like that's someone I can like, okay, I trust her.
Yeah, like she's a real person if
Yeah,
she's lives in
exactly.
Ottawa.
Exactly. Yeah. So, and I'm really, one of the reasons I'm really grateful for your course was because I was just going to make my online course Camera 101, the one I had been teaching in person. I knew, like, I had all the slides for that. Like, I knew what I was doing.
Mhm.
But your first, like the very first thing we do in your course is market research, which is something I had never experienced. I'd never done. I had no background in it. And because of that, I found out I was able to make it how to launch a photography business, basically a course that is 4 times bigger or more. No, it's even more, I would say, than this Camera 101. And so therefore I was able to charge way more.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so did you have an audience already of people? Like obviously you had an audience of people who use your photography services and
Mhm.
that kind of thing. Um, did the folks who ended up signing up for your program, that founding group, were they already in your audience, or can you like, do you know?
I'm gonna say most of them were,
Mhm.
um, because a lot of my followers, like a lot of them were clients or people who admired my work or whoever it was, not a ton of photographers. And I found that the people who signed up, um, were a good range. Like some of them were people I was like, oh, I had no idea that you were even interested in pursuing a business.
Right.
And then other ones, I knew they were kind of dabbling. And then a couple of my students were even like a few years in to
Right.
their photography businesses. Um, and but yeah, I would say majority were already in my small audience before my audience started to grow as I was like posting more about educating and stuff.
Right. And
Mhm.
so when you launched that program, you kind of kept it to that lean launch, like I talk about, like the webinar, you posted on social media about it, and you sent emails, right?
Mhm.
Those are kind of the main activities.
Yep.
And just to give people an idea, what was your email list, if you can remember, before you, or like at that time?
I think it was probably like 50 to 75 people.
And it grew during the launch,
And it
right?
grew during the launch. It grew, I think, to like 150-ish.
Yeah.
Which I think I remember being like, oh, that's still less than like the 200 that we like to have.
Mm-hmm.
But I was like, whatever, I'll do it anyway.
And you had an Instagram following.
Yes, I did.
Yeah. So like you could also, I remember there was another student where her email list was really small, but she actually had a pretty sizable Instagram. I want to say she had like 8 or 9,000. And I was like, just launch it anyway, because the
Mhm.
mix of all of it
Yeah.
will be fine. So
Yeah.
so you launched. I remember your post so clearly in the Facebook group, full of exclamation marks, like so exciting. And I for sure happy danced when I saw it too, because you surpassed your goal. I like, do
Mhm.
you remember how many students you had wanted to get? You had to close the cart.
Yeah, so I wanted 10. I was
Okay.
like, my husband and I sat down to dinner one night and I was like, okay, I'm doing this. I can't believe I'm doing this. I hope I get 10. I like really hope I get 10. I'll be happy if I get 5. Like it was just like, but I wanted to close the cart at like 10 because I wanted that hand holding experience for my founding students.
Mhm.
And then the night before I was like, you know what? Maybe I need to set like a what if, an abundance mindset. What
Mhm.
do I want to cap it at? And so I was like, okay, 15. 15 will be the most I'll take. That way I can do, because I was offering like a bonus coaching call. So I wanted to make sure I had that at time and energy to do
Totally.
for all of the students. And so I was telling the world 10, but in my mind 15. And I actually sold 17.
Isn't that wild?
Yeah, I still can't believe it.
And that was about 13K in revenue.
Yes, oh, just over 13, somewhere 13.5 maybe.
Amazing. What
Mhm.
an incredible first milestone. And
Mhm.
how was the experience of delivering that course to those students?
Amazing. I honestly, the students that trusted me, I was just like blown away by their enthusiasm and their trust and their like eagerness to learn. And I thought originally like this course needs to be all made and then I deliver it. No, thank God for your course. I sold it out before I had ever created anything. Well, I maybe had a couple of bonuses that I had made just for like the like templates for like bonuses to show people what they were getting.
Totally.
And then obviously I had my camera 101 kind of content
right
already done, but otherwise everything else I didn't. And so they were all so wonderful at like, okay, every week for 12 weeks on Monday, you'll have access to more lessons. And they all went at their own pace, but there was a good chunk that were like so eager every Monday to like check their email and watch new videos. It was amazing. And I actually so as a photographer, my schedule is wonky. It's wonky. I work nights, weekends, I edit all day. Like it's not very like, normal, air quotes, like, and so during COVID, when I couldn't work, I was able to schedule my weeks and be like, okay, so create all of like the script and slides on like Monday, Tuesday, create the bonuses that go along with that week on Wednesday, record on Thursday, upload on Friday. I like miss it. I miss that that schedule.
Right.
It was amazing. I felt like I need to do more education because this is amazing. So that's how I'm feeling now. I'm like, what else can I create that can give me that type of schedule?
That's awesome. And so what is it that, like, what do you see as sort of next steps for you in terms of your business? Because now you've got really these two kind of pathways or arms. So how do you see them working together and like, where are you headed?
So I'm really excited. Obviously I'm back to work and it's nuts. But every single off season, like winter time here in Canada, is very slow. Slow enough that I can take on a few things and make enough money, but there's still just a lot of time that I could be giving to something else. And so normally every winter I like will work on my website or update my contracts or like all that stuff. So this upcoming winter, I'm just so excited to like kind of put the like shooting and editing on pause so that I can rest that creative part of my brain because it never gets a break and needs it. And so this winter, I'm going to just dive right into like the education and making it completely passive. I want to actually like redo my webinar just so it's more passive because I think I was pretty specific in the first one I did, so that it can then be this passive online course. And I have plans to like really go forward with possibly a podcast, possibly a YouTube channel, like just dive right into this whole other business, but there's still like completely parallel with my in-person photography. I'm just able to like scale that business so much more than I ever could shooting in person, like one-on-one.
Totally. I see that too. And actually how nice that like for one season of the year, like summer, spring, summer, early fall, you dedicate yourself to your photography business. And then the other season, you're able to like shift gears. To me, that's so much nicer than something where it's like 2 days a week on this and 2 days a week on this, where you're really having to split your focus all the time. I think it works so well. So I'm so excited about your success. And like, I just have a feeling that was just open. It was just cracking the door open to what's possible for you. So that to me just like lights me up. So let everybody know where they can find you. Because maybe we got some local folks listening who want to, get plan to elope, or maybe we have some folks listening who are interested in starting a photography business. So where can they learn more?
Amazing. So Instagram is definitely where I'm like the most active. So it's just at Love and Exposure Photography. And then my website is just loveandexposurephotography.com.
Amazing. Well, thank you, Janita. Such a pleasure to have you.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.